Hi, welcome to Astrology for Gann Traders. My name is Olga Morales. Now today I'm going to do a short video on something I discovered during my research when I was putting my OMS Planetary Watch together for 2025, which I do every year and have been for the last 15 or maybe more than that, I've forgotten now. And something really struck me. You know, you've probably heard already by most astrologers that we're waiting for the Saturn to be conjunct Neptune on the 20th of February 2026, and because what's significant about it is that they'll be on the first degree, 0 degrees of Aries. Okay, so this is an important part of the zodiac. It's new beginnings, and it's the completion of a huge cycle for them, because they are conjunct every 36 years, but this is when they're coming back to the point of the beginning of the zodiac. Currently they're both in Pisces, so they're ending that synodic cycle. Okay, so what I've done here, put the other times that they were, I wanted to know when was the last time they were in Aries, and these are the other times they were in Aries as well, 1703 and 1380. So these are huge cycles. Okay, but there was something else that really, so you can do a bit of research there. I do mention things in my report, but you can look at those times in the past. Remember, W.D. Gann always said, the future is but the repetition of the past. Okay, so he wants you to look back. You look back. What happened when these alignments happened in the past? What were the themes? Do you think they're going to repeat? You know, so let's have a look. What I found as well. Okay, so this Andre Bolbold, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he had a book called Planetary Cycles, Mundane Astrology. He passed away at 99, just before COVID hit, and he had predicted that there was going to be a virus, okay, that was similar to AIDS. He used the AIDS and he went back, okay, and so he died just before it actually happened. But in what's significant about when Saturn and Neptune are conjunct on the 20th of February 2026, it's not only these two that it's important, but you can see that they come to the midpoint of Pluto and Uranus on the other side. Okay, so and that's like they're creating a sextile. So for him, he believed that this is a benefic configuration of the century, and its interplanetary partnership will work for the best in a splendid relaunch of civilization. It contains a harmonious relationship between primordial polar opposites, the coming together of external and internal, rational and spiritual minds, a soul, human beings surpassing themselves while experiencing life on a higher level. So it's almost like it's like the Renaissance for him. Okay, so it's positive. Plus it's in Aries, and so we've got all this new energy. Okay, but I just dug a little bit. I wanted to know, because I'm a cosmobiologist and I always look at midpoints, I wanted to know, when did that happen in the past? If they're all lines, including Pluto and Uranus at 0 degrees of Aries, when was the last time that happened? Like the 4 of these being at that point of the zodiac. So of course I went back, as I always do, and I found it. I found one on the 1st of April 1527. Okay, you can see here, I've put them in here. So Saturn Neptune, it was at 3 degrees of Aries, so it's 3 degrees difference, and the Uranus Pluto midpoint was also at 3 degrees. So they line up at that point. Okay, the interesting thing was, when I plotted it on the chart, just a wheel, Uranus was right on the midheaven over Rome. Okay, and the Neptune was on the descendant. Okay, and you can see their midpoints here in the 7th house, you know, of open enemies. But what happened? So I look back, and what happened in that period in 1527 was actually the sack of Rome. And this is what's significant is that we know as astrologers, if you're new to astrology, anytime you see a planet on the angles, this is a midheaven, so this is directly above our heads, or rising or setting as well, because this is on the angles of the chart, they're significant for the location. Now, Uranus wasn't discovered at that time, but it was still in the heavens, and it also causes unexpected, unsettling dramatic changes, okay? And so this alignment was significant for that location. So what happened with the sack of Rome, essentially, you can read here, but they came in, they took over, and the Pope ended up he ended up in the, actually I've been there, in the, what's that place called, where they put everyone, in the Castello Sant'Angelo. So the troops of the Holy Roman Empire, Charles V, including German, Spanish soldiers and Italian, part of the Italian wars. Charles V's forces were unpaid and mutinous, targeting Rome as an act of desperation and rebellion. The result of the conflict, Charles V and the League of Cognac, that was Pope Clement the 5th, 6th, 7th, France, Venice, and others opposing imperial dominance in Italy. So the troops stormed Rome, looting and pillaging the city for months. Thousands of civilians were killed. The cultural treasures were destroyed. Pope Clement the 7th fled to Castello Sant'Angelo, where he was besieged and eventually surrendered. It marked the end of the Renaissance papacy, severely damaged Rome's population, economy, and cultural prestige, symbolised a shift in power dynamics in Europe, diminishing the Pope's influence in politics, accelerated the decline of the Italian Renaissance. And this is huge, right? It's so big. This is like a really pivotal time in the history of Rome. So what I did was, with astrology, we can get a chart and we can plot it on the world map to see where these planetary alignments are on the world map. And to my shocking discovery, when I put it on, as you could see in the actual natal chart, you could see that Uranus was on the MC, the midheaven, above, looking right at Rome in 1527 when the sack of Rome was happening. And you can see that Neptune was on the descendant. So they actually cross on Rome, but also the Pluto Saturn parallel lines were going through that area. Okay, so this is significant. This is why looking back is so important when you're doing any type of research, because if you see these alignments, they're already showing you something important, and the accuracy of astrology is outstanding. Now, I did something similar to this before COVID hit. I was looking back at the solstice chart, the winter solstice chart, and Saturn happened to be connected to it. And when I looked back, it was like, it went back to 1666. And I said, wow, we're getting a repeating planet from the bubonic plague. And what happened? We got COVID, okay? So these alignments are significant. Now, what's happening, what shocked me even more, when I put the chart up for the 20th of February 2026, and I cast it for Rome, the same alignment has happened. Uranus is on the midheaven again, okay? Neptune is not on the descendant. It's a little bit higher in here, in the 8th house, but all these midpoints actually line up. The midpoints between Saturn and Pluto are actually on this, the descendant. You can see they're perfectly aligned there. And this is where they are in 2026. You can Saturn, Neptune, 0 degrees of Aries, and so Uranus, Pluto are at 0 degrees, almost 1. So they're both aligned at that point. And believe it or not, when I put the chart up on the map, again, for this time, 20th of February 2026, you can see that Uranus is on the midheaven again going through Rome, and we can see the midpoints that are on the setting over Rome as well. So this is really significant. I don't know what's going to happen in Rome. Is it going to be a similar pattern? But I've got a feeling that the Pope may go. I know this year is the Jubilee in Rome, and a big celebration, but it might time something to do with the Pope Francis, because or something significant, I don't know, but it's putting a highlight on Rome again. But like if you know anything about the prophecies of Malachi, which actually Gann mentions in Tunnel Through the Air. If you go to page 82 in Tunnel Through the Air, he talks about the prophecies of the priest Malachi, and he talked about all the popes, okay? And there was a number of them, okay? And a lot of people believe that Pope Francis is the last pope. Now, if he's the last pope according to the prophecies of Malachi, he actually says after the last pope, it will be the fall of the Rome and the seven cities. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just showing you what I've found, and I don't know enough about the politics of what's happening in Rome. Can something happen to the Vatican City? What happens when this pope dies? So there's all these sort of questions. I just wanted to put it out there that Rome is in the spotlight for this alignment, like it was when it was sacked in 1527. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that presentation. This is what I love doing. And if you're interested in my work, you know, I put out my OMS Planetary Watch where it looks ahead of the year, but I focus more on the stock market. But I also love doing mundane analysis like this, and I always include it in my OMS Planetary Watch for every year. So thank you for listening.